Hello.
There we go.
Bench trial, sorry.
Okay.
All right. Too much technology here this morning. So, all right, before we get started with the approval of our minutes, I'd like to get the staff sworn in, please. Ms. Nunn?
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, Commissioners, I think you have in front of you the copy of the minutes from our June 25th meeting. If I could get a motion to approve those, and then we'll go through them and add or subtract if there's any changes we need to make. Mr. Douglas?
Go ahead. So move.
Got a motion to approve. Have a second? Mr. Falvey seconds. Okay, now any additions or corrections to the minutes that we need to make? Any additions or corrections? All right, seeing no hand go up, we'll go ahead and just do this by voice vote. All those in favor of approving the minutes from our June 25th meeting signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Okay, minutes have been approved. And with that, before we get into our first docketed item this morning, I would just like to make one announcement here. One of our long-term serving commission members, Joe McWilliams, which represents Pee Wee Valley, has decided to retire from the Planning Commission. So he has served on the commission for 11 and a half years, and so he's decided to retire. And so Pee Wee Valley will be bringing another name forward probably next month for an appointment to the Planning Commission. But Commissioners, if y'all would, just show him a round of applause for his service on the commission. All right. With that, we'll move into our first docketed item this morning. And Ms. Nunn, if you would read the first docketed item, please.
All right, the first docket is PZ-19-014. Application has been filed by Brent Reike for the approval of a minor subdivision plat with waiver and on approximately 44.55 acres. The property is located at 3400 Blakemore Lane, LaGrange. The zoning is AG1 Agricultural Residential District and CO1 Conservation Residential District.
All right, thank you. And with that, I'll ask Ms. Alvey if she would now introduce the docket for us, please.
Are you going to note that Mr. Halfling?
Oh, yes. Mr. Halfling is recused himself and stepped out of the room. He felt like he had a conflict with this first docketed item, so he will not participate, won't even be in the room here for the first docketed item. So, okay, Ms. Alvey?
Yes. Good morning. Amy Alvey, the Assistant Director for Oldham County Planning and Development Services. Your first item today is docket PZ 19014. As Ms. Nunn stated, this is an application for a minor plat waiver. The property is located at 3400 Blakemore Lane in LaGrange and is approximately 45.55 acres. This is an aerial view of the existing land there outlined in red. This is a zoning map that shows that the property is zoned AG1 and CO1 conservation. The darker green area there is the CO1 conservation. The applicant is proposing to create a 3-acre tract of land from the existing 45.55 acre parent tract. The previous owners, which their name was Apple, applied for and was granted a minor plat to create a 4.92 acre tract, which is considered the first sell-off, around their home and sold the residual tract of 49 acres to the applicant in April of 2018. The 4.92 acre was granted a road frontage variance by the Oldham County Board of Adjustments in January of 2008, but a minor plat was never submitted until 2018 at the time that they sold the property. So this is the first sell-off. This is the 4.92 acre tract there. The applicant then sold 2.86 acre tract of Woodfield Homes via minor plat dated January 2019, being the second sell-off. So highlighted, it's kind of hard to see on your screen, but that is the second tract that was the sell-off. So the applicant is proposing to create a new 3-acre tract of land. The proposed tract will be sold to the applicant's close friend that shares in core family values and will be creating a homeschool community with small farming education. This comes from the applicant's justification statement. So the proposed tract is this purple outline here. So you have sell-off 1, sell-off 2, and sell-off 3. And again, this original sell-off that was done, that technically was approved by the Board of Adjustments in 2008, but the owner at that time never recorded the minor plat. So in order when they went to sell it to the applicant, they had to recreate that minor plat for that sell-off. So this is the minor plat that was submitted with the application. Again, this just shows the divisions. So you have one sell-off, two sell-off, and this is the third sell-off here. The proposed division line borders the creek to the south. The access limitations for long-term maintenance creates a burden to retain the track bordering Blakemore Lane. Again, that comes from the applicant's justification statement. According to the definition in section 2.2 of the subdivision regulations, a minor subdivision is a subdivision of land into not more than 3 lots within 5-year time period and not involving a new public street or private road. A definition of a major subdivision is a subdivision of land into 4 or more lots or any subdivision involving a new public street or private road. Also, any division of land beyond 3 lots within a 5-year time period from the parent tract or tract divided therefrom. If the minor plat is approved, request is approved by the Planning Commission, the applicant will be required to submit a minor plat application to staff, which will then be forwarded to utility agencies for review and comment. So this is the proposed tract here. It's a large open field at this point. This is the east view, so this is going towards Henry County on Blakemore Lane. This is the east adjoining property, so if you're standing in the street looking at the property, it's the property to the left. This is the west view, so this is going back towards LaGrange and Highway 53. This is the north view, which is across the street, again, which is another large field. This is the south adjoiner, so there is one tract that is located in the middle. I will say not really in the middle, but was originally part of this whole property years ago that Mr. McGuffin owns. So that we call that the south adjoiner. So in summary, the applicant is requesting a waiver of section 2.2 of the subdivision regulations regarding minor subdivisions to allow 3 divisions within 5 years and approval of the minor plat.
All righty, Ms. Albee, thank you. Mr. Sullivan, is there anything that you need to add as county engineer? Okay. All right. Commissioners, we'll open it up now for any questions of the staff as it relates to this docket. Mr. King.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Amy,
Yes, sir.
the plat that was submitted in 2018 for the first sell-off,
Correct.
when did that occur in 2018? Do we know what date in 2018 that occurred?
4/11/2018 is when it was stamped.
Do you know if that was before or after it was sold by Apple to Mr. Reike?
I do not know. There was a correction plat that was done as well because there was meets and bounds description that was incorrect on the label of it, so they had to re-record it.
All right, so I need to ask the applicant.
Yeah, you
Okay.
might be able to.
Thank you.
Any additional questions for staff? Mr. Finney.
If this is an inappropriate time to ask this question, let me know. But is this a similar situation to what we ran into over on Halls Hill Road? Going down the hill up on the left?
No.
No.
So all of these have been recorded. There has not been anything built over property lines or unrecorded plats. There's not a requirement. They went and got a road frontage variance to create the previous owner, Apple, and they just never recorded the minor plat from 2008. We run into that where people think if it's stamped, then they don't have to do anything with it. But it says on there that it has to be recorded within 1 year from our stamp date.
Okay, so this is not a similar situation?
No,
Thank you.
no, sir.
And I'm going to add, not even close.
Correct. No, nowhere close.
All right, any additional questions for staff? Okay, seeing none, we'll now move into the presentation by the applicant or representative and others in support of the application. You have 50 minutes. And we'll need to get your name and address and get you sworn in.
All right.
You solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do. Thank you.
Okay.
For the record, Brent Rickey, 4418 Catherine Drive, Crestwood, Kentucky, 40014. Mr. Chairman, Commission, appreciate you guys hearing my case today. This will be a first for me for the Oldham County Waiver Commission, so I appreciate that. Ms. Alvey gave good representation of what we're trying to do here. I'll just share that in 2018, we bought the 49 acres. It was intended for small farming to grow my family there, and we're still pursuing that. So we're actively working towards really building our community around that. Our interest for this meeting is to get an approval for a 3-acre tract that we would, with the intention to sell off to some really great family friends. These are a great homeschool family that we share our lives with, and we really love that family. So we want to move them closer to us if possible. To the east of that property that we'd like to sell, there was another family that we also sold to, another great family friend. They also homeschool. So our intention is to sort of create a farming community, a homeschool community that we can really teach our kids, how to do small farming. So that's basically all I have. If you guys have questions.
Okay. So that's your presentation?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Well, with that, is there anyone here that would like to speak in support of this application? Anyone here to speak in support of? Okay. Seeing none, I guess, let's see, we'll move into, and we'll have questions here for you just shortly, but I guess next would be testimony and questioning by those opposing the application. Is there anyone here that has testimony or is opposed to this application? Okay. Seeing no one, we'll now open it up for commissioners for questions of the applicant. Do you all have questions? Mr. King.
Mr. Ricky, sorry for butchering your name earlier. So purchase date and this record plat event, can you help me with the timeline on that?
Yeah, so when the Apples filed their original application, that was in 2018. That was to separate, they had a larger 55-acre tract. They retained 5 acres and we took the residuals. That's what the original application was for.
Can you tell me if the record plat was filed before or after you acquired the property?
Record plat was filed at the sale of the property.
At the sale. Okay. All right, that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Any additional questions for the applicant? Mr. Hampton.
After I heard you give your address, do you live on this property?
We have started our farming operation out there.
But your residence is
and
not?
It's our intention to build out there. So no, that's not our final
Thank you.
address.
Okay. Mr. Finney.
Describe your farming operation or your aspirations for farming and what your experience is.
Very limited experience with the hope to sort of learn through that. We're not doing it in the sense of large-scale operation. It's going to be more of a growing vegetables, greens. We've currently started our small farming in the sense of chickens, egg production, that sort of thing. So it won't be anything of great magnitude for this property.
So what is your vocation?
I'm a builder by trade.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any additional questions for the applicant? Yes, sir. Mr. Falvey?
When you bought the property, and you said you're a builder, you knew there was a minor plot, it was a minor plot subdivision that you were buying
Yes.
with those regulations.
It was confusing at first, but come to find out, yes, we would have to file this waiver for a second sell-off.
All right, and second,
I didn't realize that it was following the parent tract for that minor plat when we bought the property.
okay. Second question, what is the, you say there is a access limitation for long-term maintenance, which creates a burden.
Yeah,
Where is that located?
yeah, there's a creek that runs through here, which really separates the larger portion of our 45 acre tract down through here. So it's sort of a maintenance concern to keep that up on the far end. I'm not growing anything up on that field, but I would like to keep it nice. If we were to sell it, that would certainly help keep the road frontage clear and keep it nicer for this tract up here.
So it doesn't abut the property that we're talking about, right?
I'm sorry?
It doesn't abut the property that you're trying to sell off at this point?
It does.
It does?
Yes, this tract right here is a part of that larger tract that we own through here.
No, I understand that, but the maintenance, where you're having a maintenance issue, is it along this tract that you're selling?
It is, yes. Yeah, like I said, the creek runs through here, and access is limited up through this area to get to that property.
Okay, thanks.
All right, additional questions? Mr. Douglas?
I was just looking at the minor plat. I'm just kind of, I assume you sold the apples, that portion of the tract, so that's tract 2?
We actually purchased the property from the Apples.
Okay.
Yeah.
And who are the, I can't hardly see it, but McCulloughs or McGuffreys? Is that another piece of property there?
Yeah, they own this tract right here.
And how do they manage to get there?
That is through an approved easement through this drive access down through here.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Fanny?
You're speaking of lack of access to the rear of the property. It looks to me like there's a driveway that leads right back through there that would get you past the creek.
It gets to the larger portion of the tract. The limitation is to get towards this upper part of the property. We can access it by Blakemore Lane, which is up here to the north. But that's the only way to get to that tract up there because of the creek.
Okay, thank you.
How wet is the property there, those bottoms?
I'm sorry?
How wet? Traditionally,
The creek bottom's not that bad. During rain events, we do have some localized flooding. But on that top side, that 3 acre tract up there, it's fine.
So you don't anticipate any problem building there, septic systems or any of that because of the wetness?
No, they've just built a house on this tract right here. There is a 100-year flood line that sort of cuts through here, but I don't think that would be a concern for flooding.
Any additional questions? Okay, seeing none, we had no one here to speak in opposition or testify against the application, so I guess at this point, the application will be closed. And, well, oh, yes, sir. Do you have a final statement that you'd like to make? As it relates to, okay. All right, with that, Commissioners, let me ask Mr. Urban here to outline what's being requested on this particular docket, and then we'll open it up for motions.
On the second page of your staff report, there are proposed motions for either approval or denial. What you're being asked to consider is a waiver from the regulations that would allow this sell-off. In reality, if you did that, you'd be approving the minor subdivision plat, even though they have to submit it to staff because that's not been done yet. So there are two proposed conditions of approval. One is the waiver shall only apply to the application considered at the August 27, 2019 Oldham County Planning Commission public hearing. And the second is that the applicant shall submit a minor plat application for review and approval by staff and the servicing agencies, which is a typical minor plat procedure.
Okay. With that, you've heard what's being requested. Commissioners, do you all have a motion that you'd like to move forward at this time? On docket PZ 19014. Any motions? Mr. King?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll move for approval of the waiver as requested. I find, based on testimony presented, that it's not in conflict with the comprehensive plan. Note that it's not consistent with the existing zoning or the subdivision regulations, but that's the nature of the request, is for that waiver from the regulations. In this particular instance, the access in question has access of its own that is not shared, doesn't require any shared maintenance agreements or easements, and notably, there's no opposition here at this hearing.
Mr. Urban, you think that's adequate?
Sounds good.
Mr. Carter, just got here.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. All right, County Attorney John Carter. All right, do we have a second? Okay, Mr. Hampton seconds. All right, now any discussion on the motion to approve on docket PZ 19014, minor subdivision plat?
I have one.
Yes, sir. Mr. Douglas?
Sometimes on these, we've also included in the proposed condition of approval, there should be no further division of the property.
Well, this is a
Without
big
approval?
piece of property, and
I know.
typically we do that in relation to a subdivision, normal subdivision, single-family subdivision plan. If you did, it would basically tie them, unless you're referring to that particular tract itself.
With the minor plat regulations, if they were to do any divisions within the next 5 years, they would have to come
They have to
back
come back.
before the planning commission.
That's
correct.
Mr. Urban, I did fail to cite the conditions of approval, though, which I'd like to incorporate.
Okay, those have been added? Yes. Okay. And Mr. Hampton, are you okay with the second adding those conditions? Yes. Okay. All right, any further discussion on the motion to approve? Okay, seeing none, I'll ask our secretary to record the vote at this point, and this is a motion to approve on docket PZ 19014.
Okay, Mr. King,
Yes.
Mr. Hampton,
Yes.
Ms. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Davis. Mr. Douglas. Mr. Elder,
Yes.
Mr. Falvey,
Yes.
Mr. Finney,
No.
Ms. Nasser,
Yes.
Mr. Neal.
Yes.
All right, the motion to approve on docket PZ 19014 has been approved on a vote of 9-1. So with that, we'll get set up here on our next docketed item, and we won't take a break here on this first one, so. Tom, I assume you're presenting on this one? Okay. Mr. Heflin is now joining the commission for this next docketed item. So with that, I'll ask Ms. Dunn if she will read the next docket, please.
Okay, next docket is PZ-19-015. Application's been filed by Nicholas and Joni Bointner for the approval of the minor plat with a waiver of section 5.7, lot arrangement, size, shape, item E, joint access of the subdivision regulations, and a road frontage variance for a proposed tract on approximately 18.52 acres. The property is located at 2016 East Highway 42, LaGrange. The zoning is AG1 Agricultural Residential District and CO1 Conservation Residential District.
Okay. Mr. McIntyre, I understand you'll be presenting today for the commission? Okay. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Nunn. So, as you mentioned, the zoning is AG1 and CO1, and it's 18.5 acres. Here we have an aerial. Pavement and structures. And the zoning map. So as you can see, the CO1 is creeping up in that area, preserving the natural resources in the area. According to section 5.7E of the subregs, no more than 3 parcels may take access from any single street encroachment not considered a frontage street or a private roadway. The applicant is proposing the following lot configuration, with tract 1 being 4.68 acres, tract 2 14.68 acres, tract 3, which is what the applicant is proposing, to be 3.84 acres, and tract 4 is 6.39 acres.
Can you move over just a little bit? I don't know whether the mic's picking up
Sure.
well or not. Okay, thank you.
The applicant has requested a road frontage variance to create a 3.84 acre tract with 0 feet of road frontage. The required road frontage for the property zoned AG1 CO1 being 2.5 acres or larger is 300 feet. Therefore, the applicant is requesting a road frontage variance of 300 feet. So, like I mentioned just in the slide prior, they are required to have 300. They're proposing 0, therefore the variance requested is 300 feet. Here we have the plat. So there is the existing access easement all the way down into that property. So you can see tract 1, 2, 3 being the subject tract that we're here for today, and 4. Therefore, 4 parcels taking access off of the single street encroachment. The proposed tract is 3.84 acres on the north side of the second tract. Here we have pictures from the site visit itself. So here we are looking north into the proposed tract. Just another view north. Right here is the line, the north line of the proposed tract 3. This proposed tract goes all the way down and into portions of the water. Here we are looking south towards the existing home. Again, another view looking west to the water. Here we are along the proposed north property line of tract 3. Here we are looking north across 42. Looking east down 42. West. And back down south to south down the access easement. In summary, the applicant is requesting an approval of a minor plat with a waiver of section 5.7, lot arrangement, size, and shape, item E, joint access of the subdivision regulations. In addition, the applicant is requesting a road frontage variance of 300 feet. Be more than happy to entertain any questions at this point.
Okay. All right. With that, Mr. Silliman, is there anything that you need to add? No, sir. Okay. All right. Commissioners, any questions for staff on this docket? Any questions? Seeing no hands go up, we'll move into the presentation by the applicant or representatives and others in support of the application. Who will be presenting? Okay. We'll need to get your name and addresses for the record, and then we'll get you sworn in.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, your name and address.
Nicholas Boyder, 2016 East Highway 42, LaGrange, Kentucky.
Okay?
I'm Joni Boyder, same address.
Oh, okay. All right, great. Go ahead. You can go ahead and make your presentation.
Okay, basically what we're planning to do is just get the variance for that zone plat 3, and what we're planning to do is build a traditional home for my mother-in-law and my wife's brother, who's mentally challenged. Basically, we're going to be about smaller than 1,800 square feet, and just build a home there on track 3 for them, so we can take care of them, basically.
Okay. All right, is there anything else you need to add?
Just that this is basically for my brother. He's going to be 30 years old. He really would like to be independent, but he's not really capable of it. And this is his best chance to have his own place, his own house when my mom passes on, so that he can feel independent, and yet we can still be right there to take care of him if he needs anything or help him with his everything. So. And it just, this is, I mean, we could build it because we actually own number 1 as well there, but it would make it just so much more expensive for them because we'd have to bring up the water and the electric and everything all the way to the back and add a new driveway. So this would be just easier for everyone. So.
Okay. All right, does that complete your application to the commission then?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right, is there anyone here that would like to speak in support of this application? Anyone here to speak in support of? Okay. We'll now move into the, let's see here, just a second. Testimony and questioning by those opposing the application. Is there anyone here that would like to have testimony or speak in opposition to the application? Ms. Snell? Yeah, we're done with you all right now.
You all can sit down.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
She's an attorney, but that's okay.
Okay, sorry.
I'm here
Sure.
as an owner. My husband and I live where? Oh, right here, okay.
And we just,
We live, that's the J. Brown and Virginia Brown right next door, and.
Can you hit that touch screen and let us know which parcel you were pointing to? Thank you.
All here, and we did, when Barry and Jennifer sold, we bought as much as we could. We bought this one and this one, so we could stop the development. And I guess we're just generally concerned about what's happened on Stagecoach Road. That's become kind of a street for a subdivision, and about more division in this part of Jefferson County, in the scenic highway. I am speaking against my own economic interests because we now have acreage that we could divide and sell. And also the property over here, I expect that abuts to Stagecoach Road, and someday somebody's going to come in wanting to put minor plat there. We don't oppose the building. I am not a zoning lawyer, and again, I'm here as a property owner. I wondered if there had been any consideration to an accessory dwelling, which would not be creating another lot on property that's been divided fairly recently. I mean, Barry and Jennifer did this not too long ago. And if an accessory building would sort of not increase the density, but would be more part of the home, because we are completely sympathetic to the need that our neighbors have. I mean, I feel bad standing up here, but it's just the development. It gets to a point where there's a degree where you've got to stand up. So, thank you very much.
Let me get your name and address for the record, if you would.
It's Virginia Snell Brown, 2000 East Highway 42.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right. Is there anyone else here that has questions or testimony in opposition to this application? Anyone else? Okay. Seeing no one, we'll now open it up to the commission for questions of the applicant or Ms. Snell that spoke in opposition. So are there any questions?
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. King.
If I may impose on Mr. Urban, the question from Ms. Brown was, why can't there be an accessory dwelling? Can you possibly give us some background on that?
Well, there could be an application for that, in which case it would be on the same parcel as the main structure, either attached to or as a detached accessory dwelling unit. The question is, what does the applicant want to do? And they appear to have wanted to put a house on its own tract.
Are detached accessory dwellings currently permitted by regulation?
Well, if it's attached to the building, yes, by building permit. If it's detached, it's a conditional use permit at the Board of Adjustments.
That's what I was looking for, thank you.
There you go. Staff had met with the applicants previously, and we discussed the options of a detached accessory dwelling unit. They would also have to get a location variance because of detached accessory dwelling units cannot be located in front of the primary. So that's why, and they're only allowed 25% of the space of the primary structure, and that limited to the size of it. You may want to ask the applicant to clarify that, but this, at the time that they purchased it, this was an existing tract that the seller consolidated. So this was an existing tract already that they're wanting to recreate, just for clarification.
Understood. I just wanted to get that into the discussion.
Yes.
Right.
Okay, any further questions? Any further questions?
This is for applicant or for staff or whomever?
Yeah, it would be of the
Okay.
applicant or the folks that have testified in opposition.
This is for applicant. If you don't mind, please, I need you to approach the podium. Can you tell me what kind of access agreement or easements or so forth are associated with the approach here?
I don't understand the question, like,
Well, typically when when more than one pieces of property share access through a common point,
the driveway?
the driveway.
Yes.
There is typically an agreement among the property owners that says, here's how we maintain this and here's how we prevent having disputes
Okay,
over
well-
our shared use of this resource. So what do you have?
We are supposed to maintain the entire driveway. That was what we agreed to when we bought the property with the, is that what you're asking?
Well, somewhat. I'm thinking in terms of long-term contingencies. So if something unfortunate happened and someone else bought that property,
So we are retaining we're not
the
selling
ownership
it
of
to
it,
my mom.
right? And after
So-
you own it, what happens?
Typically,
Yes.
what he's getting at, in the
Okay.
long run, things change.
Okay.
And what we need to do is set up today what might be in the future, which is those properties are sold to different owners. So what I think you're asking is,
Is there a formal
there
agreement
a
about
formal
the
agreement?
access
And
and
if not,
maintenance on that,
should there be?
on that resource?
Even though
And I
you're
think
going to
there
own
should
both
be.
of them, you should set that up.
A formal agreement with.
Maintenance
my-
agreement.
Okay.
Right?
It's
At the moment, it's only agreement amongst yourself, but the next buyers of those two parcels have to be committed to maintaining this access
And it is a
agreement.
requirement of the minor plat process.
Thank you.
So if you choose to approve this, they would have to do that as part of the minor plat, which has not been submitted for approval.
Okay,
All right,
that's all I have.
any additional questions? Any additional questions? Mr. Finney?
What is your occupation?
I'm a pilot with UPS Airlines.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any additional questions before we move on? Okay, thank you right now. And now we'll move into rebuttal evidence and cross-examination by the applicant. While you all are here, do you have anything that you want to add from the line of questioning that we've had here? Anything that you need to, clarify? Or?
Just that the reason we want to do the house in a separate plot was that when we originally bought it, we had, we bought that section and had it added in for my mom. We just didn't, when we were buying it, we didn't realize that we had to keep it in a separate deed in order to do that. So, I mean, that was our intention from the beginning, was so that they could move out here.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Brown, do you have any rebuttal that you'd like to bring forward?
No, not really.
Well, you need to come up to the microphone, sorry.
Yeah, I guess I didn't remember that was a separate tract. I can't say one way or another. There's three up there. It may have been. You all would know because I know Barry fooled around with it a lot, moving the lines and whatnot.
Okay. All right. Before you sit down, Ms. Brown, is there any final statements you'd like to make on this application?
No, sir, but thank you.
Okay. All right. Do y'all have any final statements you would like to make? No. Okay. All right. With that, I'll ask Mr. Urban and Mr. Carter, as always, on what's being requested on docket PZ 19015 at this point.
Well, first of all, for clarification, if you look in your staff report on the last page, there is a minor plat that was approved by me on 4/23/2018, and it showed that that tract was consolidated into the bigger tract. So the issue of, was it there once? The answer is yes, but it was consolidated. So they're really just trying to reestablish that tract. In terms of your decision, as always, on page 2 of your staff report, you have a couple of decisions to make. One is that per section 5.7E, no more than 3 parcels may access from a single street encroachment. So there's going to be 4 tracks off of that single one, and then they're requesting a road frontage variance to create a 3.84 acre tract of land with no road frontage. There are sample motions for either approval or denial. In deciding on the variance itself, you must consider whether the requested variance arises from special circumstances which do not generally apply to land in the general vicinity or in the same zone, that the strict application of the provisions of the regulations would deprive the applicant of the reasonable use of the land or would create an unnecessary hardship on the applicant, and that the circumstances are a result of actions of the applicant taken subsequent to the adoption of the zoning regulations from which relief is sought. There are 3 potential conditions of approval if you were to choose to approve the variance and the waiver. The first is that a minor plat application shall be submitted to staff for review and approval by appropriate agencies. The second is that there shall be no further division of the remaining land without commission approval. And then the third is that the waiver and variance shall only apply to the application considered at the August 27, 2019 Oldham County Planning Commission public hearing.
Okay. Mr. Carter, anything you need to add? No. All right. At this point, the chair would entertain motions on docket PZ 19015. The minor plat waiver, I guess, would be first that we would consider. So we would open it up now for consideration or for a motion. Do we have a motion on docket PZ 19015? Mr. Falvey.
We'll give it a try. In regards to PZ 19015, I move to approve the variance because it will not adversely affect the public health, safety, or welfare, will not alter the essential character of the general vicinity, and will not cause a hazard or nuisance to the public, and will not allow an unreasonable circumvention of the requirements of the zoning regulations, mainly because it had already been approved for a plat previously. I would incorporate the potential conditions of approval as outlined earlier by Mr. Urban.
Just to be clear, you're doing the variance first. You're moving to, okay, that's fine. All right, we've got a motion to approve the variance request on docket PZ 19015. Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconds, okay.
Who's going to be second?
Okay. Any discussion? Mr. Finney.
Down the road, we've got a variance that allows basically a zero road frontage for a 18-acre plus tract of land. Is that correct? Aren't we?
You're considering a 3.84 acre tract of land. That's what's being created here. I'm not sure what your question is.
So we're not considering the variance on the road frontage here from 0 to 300 feet or 300 to 0 feet?
Yes, on this particular tract.
Okay. But doesn't that affect all that ground behind there? Aren't we dealing with a landlocked piece of ground here?
No, because that's already, if you look at this plat that was approved on the last page, it's already there. The remainder of the land, is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
No, yeah, okay, so that's the 18.5 acres you're asking about. That's already an established tract, and they're severing off this 3.84 acre tract from that parent tract of, I guess, 21 acres.
Yes,
No, it would be minus, 18 minus the 3.
but we end up with a 14-acre piece of ground with with a 0 road frontage. Down the road, this whole thing gets sold. People just give up on it or whatever, want to move, whatever happens, and somebody comes in and buys that with that and wants to subdivide it. Now, don't we have a problem if we approve that?
No, it's already there. It's already an approved tract. All you're considering is the road frontage variance for the new tract. That's it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any further discussion or questions? Yes, sir, Mr. Douglas.
Should the motion be that we're only approving the road frontage variance only for the 3.84 acre tract?
That's what's being considered, that's what the application is, yes.
That's correct,
Yeah.
but shouldn't that be in the motion, that we just state that?
You can, it is, it was part of the application, PZ 19015. You can state it if you feel that it needs to be said.
I know it's part of the application, but verbally, I'm just thinking that we should just state that, because also the applicant is proposing the following lot configuration on the other 4 tracts, correct?
Well, no, it's only that tract. You're only considering one tract.
Then why is it in the notes, it says the applicant is proposing the following lot configuration, tract 1, 4.68?
Well, those are existing. They're, again, part of this minor plat. That's for the access. Those, if you're talking about page 2 of the staff report,
Correct.
item number 4, those tracts are existing already. And all the staff did was say, in order to justify whether or not you can have a 4th access, those are the 4 tracts that this access, the joint access would be.
Okay.
Maybe if I draw it. So this is an existing tract that the applicant owns. This is an existing tract that the applicant owns. What they're asking for today is to create this tract of land, to reestablish that tract is what they're asking for today. So the only thing that's in consideration today is this tract right here.
Correct. Now,
But that's only for the road, for the variance.
For the
For the-
variance and the waiver
and the
to use
waiver.
the access easement.
Gotcha.
well, but then again, in the staff report, no, item number 4, it's showing you the 4 tracts that you would, if you're going to consider the waiver, instead of only having 3 tracts off one driveway, you're going to have 4. And there's the total of each tract. That's the acreage for each one.
That was my summation that I was trying to give for the road frontage variance. We're only giving it for the 3.84, not when we get to the other.
That's correct.
For the subdivision plat, minor. Because if we do that, if we don't say the 3.84, it makes it sound like they have no road frontage off 42, the way it was proposed.
The applicant does not own tract 4. The applicant does not own tract 4. The applicant only owns tract 1 here and this tract here. They only own this tract and this tract. They do not own this tract here. The access easement runs through that. So the
Okay.
access easement serves 1, 2, 3, and 4. The applicant only owns this area and this area.
Okay. I got you now. Thank you.
Okay, any additional questions? Yes, ma'am.
Should not they have this ready to go to record for that road maintenance agreement? Because I found in the future, sometimes they think they have it, but it's not to record.
Well, again, when they do a minor plat application, which is only upon whether or not you approve their waiver and variance, they'll submit a minor plat application and we're required to have it then. And staff will make sure it's on the checklist that they have a maintenance agreement.
Thank you.
Anything else, Ms. Davis? Is that all you have? Okay. All right, any additional questions? Okay.
So I just want to make sure, you're only voting right now, the motion was for the variance
Right.
for the road frontage. That's what's in front of you right now on track 3.
Once we vote on the variance, then we'll go back and consider the waiver.
That's correct.
Okay. All right, you all ready to vote then? Okay, I don't see any hands going up, so Ms. Nunn, if you would, let's take the vote, and this is a vote on docket PZ 19015, the road frontage variance waiver request.
Okay,
No,
Mr.
no,
Falvey.
the road frontage variance.
I'm
Don't
sorry.
throw waiver in there.
Sorry, road frontage variance, sorry.
Okay, Mr. Falvey.
Yes.
Mr. Finney.
Yes.
Mr. Halfling.
Yes.
Mr. Hampton.
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes.
Ms. Davis.
Yes.
Mr. Douglas. Mr. Elder.
Yes.
Ms. Nasser.
Yes.
Mr. Neal.
Yes.
Ms. Smith.
Yes.
All right, the motion on docket PZ 19015 on the road frontage variance has been approved on a vote of 11-0. And now the chair would open it up for consideration of the waiver request. Mr. Urban, do you need to outline anything on that?
I will, so there's no confusion. The motion, if you choose to approve or you could deny, is that the minor plat and waiver, and the waiver is from section 5.7E, which says that no more than 3 parcels may take access from any single street encroachment. There will be 4 tracks off of that one encroachment. And there is, again, sample motions for either approval or denial on page 2 in your staff report.
All right, you have heard of what is the request is on the waiver, and so the chair will now entertain a motion as concerning the waiver. Mr. King?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move for approval of the minor subdivision plat based on testimony and evidence presented. I do not find conflict with the comprehensive plan. Furthermore, testimony and evidence demonstrates that this is the reestablishment of a pre-existing parcel as further support for this motion.
Okay. Mr. Urban?
Sounds good to me.
Okay. Mr. Carter? Is that an adequate motion? Yes. Okay. So the motion on the floor would be to accept the minor plat, approve the minor plat with the waiver of section 5.7, lot arrangement, size, and shape. Is that correct, Mr. King? Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Got a second? Any discussion on the motion to approve the minor plat with the waiver? Any discussion? Mr. Finney?
Does this minor plat extend the road all the way back to the plat number 1?
I think it's already there.
Does it already
Yeah,
exist?
if you look on the last page in the staff report, there's already access to that tract. You're talking about the one in the very bottom corner, it would be number 1.
Yes.
There's not a building on it, but that would, by approving this waiver, allow that access. They'd have to just build it if they were to build a house back there. You did hear testimony that they didn't want to build a house back there because of the extension of the utilities. So if ever that parcel did have a dwelling on it, it would have to be, the driveway would have to be extended.
But there is not an existing driveway back there.
You'd have to call them back up and ask. I'm looking at the minor plat. I don't see it. I didn't see
Yeah,
it on
it's
the
not
aerial photograph, so.
Yeah. Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, I'll ask Ms. Nunn now to do the vote on docket PZ 19015, the minor plat approval with the waiver of section 5.7.
All right, Mr. Elder.
Yes.
Ms. Davis. Mr. Finney.
Yes.
Falvey.
Yes.
Ms. Smith.
Yes.
Ms. Nasser.
Yes.
Mr. Neal.
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes.
Mr. Hampton.
Yes.
Mr. Halfling.
Yes.
Mr. Douglas.
All right, the motion on docket PZ 19015, which is the minor plat approval with a waiver of section 5.7, has been approved on a vote of 11-0. And with that, we'll take a 10-minute recess to get set up for our next docketed item.